Walton Backwaters, along with all its creeks, mudflats, salt marsh and little islands, covers about 5,000 acres. Slarty Bartfast himself couldn't have designed a more intriguing place to sail in a small boat. Right in the middle is Horsey Island. It used to be home to a stud for Arab horses. It's now a national nature reserve, so instead of breeding Arab stallions, useless, prancy, flighty playthings for rich women, it's now home to large numbers of some of Britain's most spectacular formation flying seabirds. And that's what I call progress. The seawall around the island is under a state of almost continuous repair. My plan? Sail right around the island and over the causeway that links it to the mainland at low tide. At high tide, there's just 3 feet of clearance over it. Super Slug draws a mere 18 inches, so we should be fine. No problem, just as long as the Hawkeye keeps working. But it's up to its old tricks again.
The tide is still rushing in. It's funny, it rushes in and it gushes out.
The journey starts off by passing the barges that have been scuppered along the beach at Horsey Island as a form of ad hoc sea defence.
Oh, sorry, am I invading your territory?
They're not things of great beauty, but it's strange how you can get used to ugly boats.
It is unbelievably short-term thinking. Dumping barges here. Pathetic, really.
Of a fine reach, but at some stage it's going to turn into a fetch now. Whether or not she can cut the mustard, I don't know. A nice enough stretch of water provided you can ignore the number of yachts there are on it.
The mooring zone on the Walton Channel now stretches almost to the Naze, but there are some cracking boats to be seen and enjoyed. Off to the left is Foundry Reach, which leads to the Yacht Basin Creek where I'm keeping my boat for the next few weeks.
Size that window down at ground level. You great ugly lemon you. Look at you. Steps. Great patio doors, Jill. Like patio doors. 4 balconies.
Then past Titchmarsh Marina. 14 quid a night. Too expensive for me, but I'm pleased marinas exist because they pack the boats in tight. So much better than having all those tons of plastic strung out along the deep water moorings and generally cluttering up the rivers. It's home to some lovely old boats. And of course the odd 3-storey apartment block being manoeuvred into place.
A lorry you're parking there, mate.
Then it's into Twizzle Creek, where the channels are marked by withies. The creek eventually opens out into Horsey Mere, and in these parts a mere is a large body of water that's extremely shallow for its width. At high tide it is a pretty impressive expanse of water, but you still have to follow the invisible channels. Sometimes working out which side of them you're supposed to go isn't easy.
Okay, can you go that side of the sticks? I want to see how deep it is. So we're 14 foot this side of the sticks. Yeah, and this foot of the side of this side of the sticks, it's 8 foot, 8'2". Okay, so generally it goes that side. That's good.
I'm entering deepest Swallows and Amazon territory here. Arthur Ransom is probably one of Britain's most loved children's authors. It was, still is, for they're still in print, a 10-part series involving adventurous children sailing traditional clinker-built boats. 5 novels are set in the Lake District, 2 on the Norfolk Broads and 2 more based on the Orwell, Stour and Walton Backwaters. The books are much loved by yachtsmen for their authentic sailing passages, and Ransom sailed all over this area. He was obviously a dedicated ditch crawler, or as you Yanks would have it, gunk holer. Some people loved the way he used real locations, such as the backwaters, and fiddled with the geography. Horsey Island became Swallows Island. The Mere becomes the Red Sea. Honey Island is renamed Bridget Island. The renaming and distorting of some perfectly good geography is threaded right through the books. I should love them, but I like my fact and fiction to be kept well apart, otherwise we end up with Dan Brown and all that Da Vinci Code tosh. Ransom did write some serious books. One was about bohemians in London, and in another he outed Oscar Wilde as a homosexual. He was a working journalist, a foreign correspondent for The Guardian, covering some of the world's hotspots, and did some great reporting about the Russian Revolution. But it turned out that he was also subcontracting as a British spy, codename S-76. While covering the Russian Revolution, Ransom became a Bolshevik sympathiser and eventually married Trotsky's secretary, a large Russian woman called Eugenia, who sailed with him back to Britain. The British authorities suspected that while Arthur had been taking money from them, he was really batting for the Russians. They thought he was both a trot as well as being a toff, a very unsettling combination for the British establishment to deal with. There are even suggestions that many of his characters are based on Russian leaders. And this will mean nothing to you if you haven't read the books, but it's been suggested that Captain Nancy might well have been a thinly disguised portrait of Lenin. You couldn't make it up. The idea is to cross the causeway at the very top of the tide and then pick up the ebb, running the withies down Kirby Creek, down beside Skipper Island, which is really little more than 3 sandy lumps and a broken down seawall, past some of the lovely and isolated yacht moorings around Honey Island and back down into Hamford Water, which Ransom renamed Secret Water. And the Hawkeye is still being a bit weird.
There's a stick ahead. I think they need to be over that way for sure.
Grass.
I assume that's where the channel goes. 17 foot, look. I think you need to bear away though. Tide's really grabbing hold of us, isn't it? Look at that. We're going sideways. No, it's good. No, we've got 14 foot underneath us. That's brilliant. 13 foot.
Just head for the stick.
Birds in flight. On their way.
I know you can push a metaphor until it crumbles in your hands, but you can see how the backwaters, with its twists and turns, sudden shallows and unexpected depths, strange currents that move you sideways, might have appealed to a complex character like Ransom. He must have spent many contented days on these waters, puffing on his pipe, thinking about his life as a journalist, spy, author and alleged traitor. But I guess most men whose adventuring days are done have a few regrets to consider. Although I don't regret a second of this journey so far. It's been great. Thanks for sharing it with me.